What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the shop for or not. What I'm going to be talking about right now is Unworthy Thor number 3. So Unworthy Thor number 3 is a story by Jason Aaron with art by Oliver Copiel, and what this does is it really tells the story of the Odinson as he's trying to regain his worthiness and the power of a new hammer. And as we know right now, the hammer is actually the ultimate Thor's hammer from the Thor's storyline during Secret Wars. But that doesn't necessarily mean it is the same Ultimate Thor's hammer that came from the Ultimate Universe. And actually, in this issue, we get a little bit better inclination of what it's actually all about. So when we start things off, we see Thor taking on the Collector's minions as he's trying to escape from his holding cell, only to find that he's basically defeated by these guys. Nothing really too terribly crazy, but it's not the first time that he's really attempted to escape this prison. We see him shackled up in chains, like so many chains, all the chains. He's got all the chains, he's behind these light energy bars kind of stuff, and he finds that he's got himself a cellmate, basically. The person next to him happens to be a pretty raucous hellhound by the name of Thori, which is awesome. He was in Angela, Queen of Hell, he's met Thor before, he's done a few things, so they have their kind of witty back and forth banter between the two of them, and ultimately it becomes a situation where Thor, he needs to escape, even though he's bad at escaping, so he breaks through all the chains again. He's about to take on the actual bars and try to break himself out of this prison again, but an ally comes to his aid, and that would be Beta Ray Bill. So Beta Ray Bill himself was actually captured. He finally escaped from his holding cell, found Stormbreaker, and made his way to Thor and frees him. So what we run into is that unfortunately there's also a problem with this, because Thor is so hell-bent on getting this hammer that he mistakes. Well, he doesn't mistake, he just covets and envies the fact that Bill has Stormbreaker now. He has a hammer. The hammer can be the cure for all his ails, so he attacks his former ally, his brother in arms. And that's really an unfortunate part of this book for Thor. He's kind of descending into the warrior's madness, which is what Odin used to call the sin unforgivable. So this could tie into the actual reason that Thor is no longer worthy of the actual Mjolnir itself, but it's really one of these kind of spectacle pieces that lands itself inside the actual story. On another side, we see actually the introduction of 3 new characters. Well, not necessarily 3 new characters, but 2 characters into this actual storyline, and they're the minions of Thanos. It would be Proxima Midnight as well as Black Swan. And they have teamed up with Gorr, who has basically presented an offer of Thanos to get this hammer in order to kind of help cleanse the world of these Asgardians, clear out these gods as the god butcher. So tracking down the energy signature of Bill's Stormbreaker, they ultimately come in contact with Thor and Beta Ray Bill. Thor is now snapped out of his warrior's madness, and he feels an immense amount of shame for what he's done to his brother in arms. But ultimately, Beta Ray Bill, being the classy individual that he is completely forgiving him. He's just a really solid dude. Thor couldn't really ask for a better friend in this situation. As the battle kind of goes on between Proxima Midnight, Black Swan, and Gorr, they realize that this isn't really the hammer that they're looking for, so they seek out the ultimate Thor's hammer. And when we kind of collect our thoughts and go to the collector, what we see is that the energy signature that's radiating off of ultimate Thor's hammer, ultimate Mjolnir, is increasing and increasing and increasing, and it's building and it's building and it's building. So what this leads me to believe is that this modified version of the hammer, because the original hammer was based on technology, the original version of this hammer, which was creating the Ultimate Universe, was based off of technology. It imbued the powers of Thor in a very, very scientific kind of way. And what we see in this is that the Thor's hammer, what Dr. Doom's interpretation of Thor's hammer would have been, is much more mystical in its orientation and its nature. So it's kind of gathering these forces, and the collector's basically like, yeah, no, I'll trade everything that I have here, every piece of my collection. With the power of this hammer, I'll be able to collect worlds, not just these trinkets and baubles. So now we get this showdown between Proxima Midnight, Black Swan, Gorr, the Collector, and then ultimately we've got a complete redesign. Well, not necessarily a complete redesign, but, Thor has decided to clean himself up a little bit. No longer does he have the long hair, the beard's trimmed up a little bit, and now he's got the Hellhound at his side, he's got his Tooth Gnasher goat, he's got Beta Ray Bill, and these forces are looking to clash over possession of the actual Ultimate Mjolnir. So when we leave off the story of Unworthy Thor, we have to wonder, why the hell was Jason Aaron holding on to this for so long? It's just one of those situations where this book continues to get better and better and better better, and it's a really great introduction for the character back into the Marvel Universe. I can't imagine a better way to really bring back Thor and to kind of create a parallel system where not just him, but also Jane Foster Thor can exist side by side and really tackle different tasks. So you can reintroduce Thor, give him a new hammer, give him a new look, give him new powers, or enhance his powers, make him just maybe a little bit more powerful in some manners while making Jane Foster a little bit more powerful in other areas. So that way they kind of feel like they're on a level playing field. But the reintroduction of these characters into the Marvel Universe in a much more prominent way is fantastic. It's a shame that it's only 5 issues. I wish that this would continue on for, 10, 12, 15, something along those lines, so that way we can follow along with this version of Thor who feels very, Thor was always relatively arrogant and egotistical, and this is a very humble version of Thor. He feels all the regrets of being, who he was in his previous life versus who he is now that he's unworthy. It's really interesting to see this take on this character. As far as the art is still Oliver Copiel, and then there's a few other people that have been kind of contributing into small sections of this book, and it's still a standout. I can't really sing the praises of this book's art enough. Unworthy Thor is probably going to be one of the best books to come out of Marvel Now 2.0, and I can't see why it wouldn't be. Overall, it's highly recommended for me. If you haven't been picking up Unworthy Thor, go grab issue 1, grab issue 2, and grab issue 3, and you're in for a really good ride. So that's my review of Unworthy Thor number 3, but I want to know what you guys thought too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.